This time on Captain Castle's Laboratory, we're going to be working on a Lemax piece. I don't know what the name of it is. Fishing catch of the day. It doesn't say. There's no box, but it was in a cardboard box. And here's all the pieces. And the little fisher guy isn't attached. So it's a rebuild time to figure out what the heck is was wrong with it. So if I flip the switch, what they glued onto the back, those work, and the lights work, and the soundtrack works, and the fish is going up and down. Well, it went down. Oh, there he is. Now he's coming back up. So. But I'm sure something else is broken, hence we got a gear extension, the water wheel, fishing equipment, and broken stacks. Which one goes here? Not sure where the other one goes there. So let's see what happened in shipping. I'm assuming this was in here, and this was the water wheel right there. And this was the drive gear, since you got a big square hole, and that fits right in. But the bottom is also partially removed. I don't know if you can tell, but I grabbed the lip. The screws are in it, but they're not all the way in. So let's take them all the way out and see what's going on. Alright, so we got 5 screws. Well, that wasn't supposed to happen, but it did. Okay, what we got going on here? So we have the drive shaft in here. There's your motor, and it is absolutely covered in grease. It still works, but we're going to have to clean off some of that excess grease. Drive works. Drive works. Come on. So, this pin goes the pin goes in the hole and the fish goes on the pin. I'm trying to get the pin in the hole, just doesn't want to go in the hole. Need a different pair of needle nose, something that has a little bit more strength at the tip and a little bit more bite. There we go. And press it in. And this just rides up and down on it. Let's make sure it doesn't ride off of it. Ah, I see. I see how this works. this has a double groove that slides onto that. I don't know how it came off without it being unscrewed, but I'm going to adjust the throw to where it's all the way, and then I'm going to see if that'll line it back up. Okay, so that lines that back up. I think the easiest way to do this is to cut the fishing line and then glue it back in. Let's see, I might be able to just unwrap the fishing line, pull it out, and then glue it back in. Just got a little bit of glue at the end here. And I'll work on that in a minute. So now the fishermen, where do they go? This fisherman's missing a shaft. Trying to see if it's stuck under the gears because everything's covered in grease. They could stick in the most weird spots. Probably this shaft that rolled out. And it goes. Yeah, that's what this one did. The fishing line came out, it came out of his hands and just pulled all the way through, so that can be put back in easily. But where does this pole sit? This piece here that makes them wiggle back and forth. I'm assuming it's going to be that hole there, but there's nothing that I can see. Juice. Yeah, it just sits in that hole because the hole's so much bigger than the shaft. It just moves the character back and forth. Alright. Now this piece should snap in and grab this gear here. So let's check these gears and make sure none of them are broken. That's good. That's good. But before we put the bottom back on, I'm going to take this motor out, get all the excess grease off of it. Grease is the #1 killer of motors in Lemax. It gets hot, turns into oil, runs inside the vent and screw holes, and then shorts out the motor. Too much grease is bad, too little grease is bad. This has got way too much. And this is one of those newer pieces that use the micro gears. First thing I'm going to do is remove some of the severely over lubricated area here. Just like so. Not removing all of it. I'm just removing probably 60%. Especially right here where the motor is. Gotta try and clean that up completely. Now we're going to unscrew the motor and pull it out. And clean off the sheen, which is all the excess grease. So two of these three holes are the screw holes, and the third hole is the vent hole, but underneath this is just the sticker. Underneath that sticker is another, 2, 4, 5, 6 holes. And then we're going to clean where the motor sits on the underside. Just like that. Now we're going to put it back together. So this precautionary step can prolong the life of your motor if you have to take your piece apart for some reason, or you move it and it just falls apart. I don't know. So part of the same box as the other one that was like Humpty Dumpty. So there was other pieces in there. This is another one. So shipping and traveling didn't do it so well. I'll pack it better when it goes back. Try to pack everything as best as possible. I tell you, your package has to be able to handle a 4-foot drop straight down, so I try to package them to where it could handle a 4-foot drop. Just before I started doing this one, UPS was nice enough to drop off a couple more. I don't know what they are. I haven't opened the packages. I usually don't open them until I'm ready to. I do them close to the order I get them in. But he set them down nicely by the door. He didn't chuck them or anything, so that's positive. Probably knows because I get tons of deliveries of people's stuff to fix. These micro gears are a pain, and of course they're slick when they're covered in grease. So they get a little fidgety. I'm going to wipe off some of the excess on this plate. Yeah. So, too much lubrication, like I was saying, is bad. Too little is bad. It's hard to tell you what the exact correct amount is. There we go. There really isn't one. You just enough to coat everything, but not so much that you got globs of it everywhere. So too little means it runs dry and more friction, faster wear. Too much absorbs debris, dirt, dust, turns the grease in the concrete, gets hard and rigid and doesn't lubricate or flex. Also, too much when it gets hot, before you get to that too much grease point where you get it running, absorbing the stuff. You can see there's just pools of it right here. You get heat, which then turns it into a liquid, and then it runs everywhere. Because this motor points up, which means the holes point up, gravity makes the grease run down, and then you have motor failure. Most common cause on Lemax. Lemax uses standard motors. Other companies use standard, but they're bigger and they're usually sideways, or they use synchronous, which are sealed-ish and they have grease inside. So now I'm just gonna let it run for a second. Turn the volume down. What I want to do is check to make sure that the motor isn't running too dry, not the motor, the gears from the motor, and make sure that nothing over here is cracked. So as they're rotating, I'm glancing at the gears and the teeth that you can see the edges of, and I'm making sure that I don't see anything that's obvious, like a chipped tooth or a fracture while it's open. Not a very fast unit, but that's because of the gear reduction. The high-speed motor reduced to move these big gears, it has to reduce it a lot. Torque, it needs to create that torque. But it's also got a lot of moving pieces. You gotta figure you got the two fish, which also move the two men on the open holes here. Then you have the secondary drive for the water wheel. And you have an output shaft right here for the goose or whatever, geese, the pond. Oh, right here. Yeah, you got the geese there. And then you also have this output shaft for what I can't see what it is, but something over here that moves too. So there's a lot of motion on this piece. It's just so it needs a big gear reduction. Just need to separate his hand. There we go. So they glued it to his hand, and his hand is glued to the rod. So I just needed to use something smaller. I don't feel like trying to feed the fish through the top where you get it back on that shaft because you're doing it through a small hole. I'd rather deal with the fishing line issue than the fish alignment issue. The fishing line will be on the top. Come on. You're almost out. And the fish would be on the bottom and it'd be harder to see. Now you do have to remember to feed the line back through the holes. I think they use real fishing line. Stuff is strong. Definitely real fishing line. It just bound up the unit trying to get the fishing pole out of his hand. There we go. Now I can fish the fishing pole through and then glue his hand back on. Give me a second here. My allergies are acting up. We've had all these rains in Arizona and everything's blooming again. Move here so you don't have to deal with the greenery, and then we get rain and instantly everything turns green. Excuse me. All right, now get it's like feeding a needle through the thread through the eye of a needle. To me, that's easier than the alternative, which is trying to feed the fish through this hole. So, okay, so there's the fishing pole. Now on this one, I need the fishing line. There we go. We're going to set her back in, make sure it's locked in. And now we're going to set the drive mechanism for this. So, if you're curious which is front and which is back, the gear has to drive this worm gear has to drive the main gear, which means it's going to be in the back. Plus, you can see the red staining from the paint. So that's going to go on like so, and then this should press right on unless it's cracked. If it's cracked, it'll just slide on. If it's not cracked, you'll feel the resistance, and this is plenty of resistance. Plus, I already looked at the gear to know that it's not cracked. And then if I turn this, it turns the wheel. Now, here comes the fun part. So this locks in here. This gear has to line up, and you have to get this pin in this hole. So you got to do 3 alignments at once. So that's always a treat. Normally 2 is okay, but this is going to be a 3-fer. Ooh, that was way easier than I thought. That slid right in, clicked right in, and lined right up. That's why it doesn't move. Oh. It drives this, which I think was a sign that it wasn't in the packaging. So that's the other thing that it drives. So now, let's make sure the fish work. Let's make sure the water wheel works. Let's get this fake snow off of it. And the geese, and at least this piece should turn. I might be able to put something in it to illustrate it's moving. Everything's moving. Now I'm going to look through here and try and find where these holes are to line up the fishermen. So this one's now lined up and this one's not. I'll take that out. Looks like this has to be glued in as well as clipped in. The reason I say that is one, it's loose, and two, there's a glue stain right there. You see a lighter C kind of shape? That's glue. And if you look at the bottom of the characters, there's glue on it as well. Super glue works fine, and since the last video I filmed where I literally put the other piece together and used about 7,000 gallons of glue, I've bought new super glues. Also, the lights are ungluing from up here. They're gonna have to be glued back on, but there's also fake snow stuck on the lights themselves where the adhesive goes. So fake snow is fine, you just gotta be very careful with it. So I gotta glue that too. Make sure the fisherman rocks. There he goes, so he's rocking. Now let's look through the hole. Sorry my fat head's in your way, but I gotta see what's in there. And there we go, now it's lined up. At least I thought it was lined up. Okay, straight down. I think this one's just harder to fit in because of the all the little accessories around this character. No, it doesn't go in. Let's see if this is all the way in. Well, that went in a little bit. Let's see if it fits now. So this character probably started all the issues and why it was sent here. So I'm squeezing the bottom together so it doesn't come apart. Because that character is making the unit whine. It almost looks like the hole that it sits in is too far forward. It really does. Let's try it again. Now you see where the hole. There we go. Now it fit in. So it probably just didn't go in the right hole. It probably got stuck on the bar. Let's try it now. I do not know where this goes. Oh, yep, it was right next to him. There's the glue from the fishing stuff. So now I just got to glue everything down and put the screws in the bottom because everything is moving like it's supposed to. So we got to glue the lights on right here where they're peeling. Glue him down, feed the fishing line through the hole. So if you've ever fished thread through a needle, that's why I have magnifiers, is because I can't see that small of a hole. For this one I just got to glue his back to his hands, and then put the screws back in the bottom, and this one should be done. I'm going to find a better package for it to send it back in than the box it came in because it got so damaged. Oh, I also got to glue on the two chimneys right there. Then we can do a little light check. I don't have the sign. It wasn't in the box, so I don't know where the sign goes. But this would be a pretty cool piece if you have a fisherman in your family that, you know, maybe not collect villages, but, you know, somebody likes fishing. Because you got all the signs. You got the Birch Creek Mill Company. You got the Christmas Dinner Special. Grilled Rainbow Trout. I got a glue string or something here. Let's get rid of that. That's probably fake snow again. This one sign here says Birch Creek Grist Mill General Store. Coffee and tea, catch of the day. The little sign on the door says come in and get hooked. We got warning, ice may be unsafe. This little sign here says ice fishing supplies. This one down here says original grist mill 1887. This one says first place $500 cash prize. And this sign up here, once I adjust the light, says winter at the mill. Winter fun at the mill, sorry. Birch Creek Ice Fishing Holiday Festival. So I'm sure this is the Birch Creek ice fishing or mill piece. Since again I don't have a box, so I can't tell you. But again, it's Christmas and standalone fishing because the trees don't have a lot on it. I know it's got the Christmas lights, but I've been places that have just color lights on them all year round. No relationship to the holidays. So, and of course, ice fishing, hence the snow, doesn't mean it's Christmas, but this would be a pretty neat piece for a standalone fisherman just to have in their decor or on their table. This light needs to be glued back in too. It's also broke free. So this light, this one, they all need to be glued back in. This one's still glued in, just bent. This one's good. I don't know what the sign said. That one's still good. So anyway, I'm gonna do a lot of gluing, and when I come back, we'll do a low light run on this. So as far as taking it apart, it's not too hard. You do have to be careful that when you disassemble it, it's going to put stress on these fishing lines. The hands are lightly glued on. My recommendation would be to, before you remove the bottom, break the glue joint from the hands for the fishing line, or the fishing pole, sorry, and let the pole be fed through the hole. Because it's going to be easier to put the pole back in the hands than it is to feed the fishing line through the 3 loops in the pole and then glue it onto their hand like it was. That's my personal opinion. Lubrication wise, when you put it back together, you definitely want to make sure that this is lubricated, which we didn't take it apart, so there's excessive lube was on the bottom already. The shaft had lube on it. I didn't wipe any off, so it's lubricated. This, you can put a dab, a small amount of PTFE grease on this gear, but it spins so slowly I don't think it's going to matter. And this being exposed to the open air, you're more likely to get debris in it. That's going to be your biggest issue. You see the wheel is separating. So it's a 3-piece wheel and they sandwich together, and it looks like the bottom where it's coming up around is opened a little. Worst case is if it is, it's not rubbing, but I can put some glue in there and clamp it for a little bit. But yeah, not too hard to disassemble. It's a really easy piece. Just be wary of the 2 fishermen. If you can, try not to break them free, but it might make it easier for reassembly, so the 2 metal shafts can drop into those round holes. You might have to pop them off. And again, I would remove the fishing poles from their hands first. The rest of it will stay attached. Of course, you might have to pop off the fishing basket and cooler to get to this one to break it free. You know, get a little screwdriver in here because you got a house and a light and a bucket and this in the way, and on this one it's pretty straightforward. I mean, you can even get between the trees without a problem. Other than that, the rest of the prep work, you don't have to disassemble this. I think this just came out in shipping. I could be wrong. Maybe it fell apart and I put it back together. I don't remember what exactly they said was wrong with it because she sent me like 9 or 10 pieces. And this one was in pieces in the box, so it doesn't matter truly what was wrong. I just got to put it back together. But anyhow, I'm going to do a whole bunch of gluing. And once the gluing's done and it's set, we'll do a dry test. I'm sorry, a low light test. Again, the grease I use is PTFE grease. I get it in these little tubes from Super Lube. I get it for Happy Holly parts. Don't use much of anything else. Stuff like WD-40 can damage the nylon and erode the gears. You can use dry lube for like this disc right here. So if this disc is squeaking or this wheel is squeaking, you can use the non-stick dry film. This stuff right here works perfect for that. It is very strong odor, so small amounts and don't breathe it. It's really bad, but works great. This is what I use like right here at the top, what I would use right here on this shaft, and I would use right here on these pieces there, because they're the external moving parts that aren't fully lubricated like the internal parts underneath the characters, the fish, and of course all the gears. You can even put a little dry lube on the gear there, that worm gear assembly. There's a lot of play in it, so I'm not too concerned about it binding from anything like debris. And it also doesn't spin very fast, as you can tell. So I'm going to go ahead and do some gluing, and then we're going to let it run, and then I'll do a low light show for you. So I'll be back in a little bit. Okay, pieces and parts are glued back on. The fishing line's been run, as you can see, and here's our low light. You can see how the light's not really flickering, it's the camera, but you can see how much light this has. And even with almost a completely dark room, it's perfectly clear. I did spray some dry lube on the disc, on this, and on their hinges, which are their hips, to try and reduce the squeak. Also sprayed some in here. The squeak is this guy. That shaft is not quite aligned. I'm going to take it back apart, but it's better than it was now that I lubed it and adjusted the base. So I'm going to see what I can do about this shaft. It's rubbing. I don't know why. I don't know if it's not pressed all the way in, although I pushed it as far as it would go, or if it's warped, the plastic, and it's catching. So I'm going to take the bottom back off and see what I can do. I did glue the basket on. I put a small dab on this guy because I figured I might have to take him back off. This one's glued on correctly. His rod's put back in. So this thing is pretty well done. I'm just going to see if I can get rid of that squeak, which is this character on the left. So it's So when it's all the way forward, the part that rotates is pulling on that metal shaft, and as it spins, it squeaks. And it could just be it needs more lubrication on that metal shaft. So the dry lube I only did on the hips, which is where the hinge is that allows them to rock back and forth. That down there would actually require the PTFE grease. So, but anyway, that's how you take it apart and glue it back together. You can see the stacks are on; they're solid. The lights are glued in. The light strip is put back on, so they're all solid. You know, they always have some adjustment because you can bend them into place. And then your little package is glued on. So the dry lube, it does leave a little bit of a residue on your plastic. All you need to do is get some rubbing alcohol, and I use a little cotton swab, and then you can just do this to remove the residue. So it comes off. You can kind of see it there. You can't because it's all white. You can see the discoloration, but unfortunately the camera has a hard time discerning between white and what's off white. So, but that's all you need to do. Cotton swab or a piece of paper towel, doesn't matter. But since the air is so small, cotton swab works the best. But anyhow, that's what you do if you get that dry lube outside of the area you're trying to spray. I use 99% alcohol. 91 will work too, it just takes a little longer. So that'll do it for this one. I'm going to work on the squeak, which again is the shaft on this guy. I'm going to see about realigning them and relubricating it and see if that takes care of it. Other than that, it's good to go. Alright, thanks for watching.